Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the NCE Procurement webinar for eVP procurement users. My name is Jeff. I'm with eProcurement, and I will be joined by Zach, who is going to do some demos towards the end. And we've got Lauren and Afua from our team that are going to be monitoring the Q&A. Let me get my camera going. Introduce myself. There I am. That is what I look like. Now, before we really get started, just want to let you all know that this is a Teams live session, meaning that it is being recorded. So if you do not consent to being recorded like this would be the time where you can leave this session. Now, the good thing about this being recorded is that we will, once we get through this, be able to publish this and send you a link so you can watch it later. But if you don't want to be in the recording, involved in this recording, you can leave this session right now. So a little bit more about logistics. We'd normally ask you to keep your mics muted, but because this is a Teams live session, there is no microphone involvement. There is a Q&A, however. So in the top right, I believe next to the leave button, don't click that leave button, but there is a little Q&A icon. If you click on that, you can ask us questions. And we would definitely encourage for questions throughout. We may be responding to those questions in the chat so that you can see those. We will take various points throughout our presentation to stop and answer questions that I will answer that Lauren and Afua will let us know these are the questions that have come up. We may not get to your question, but we are going to be collecting all of the questions that we get in the Q&A, and we will be publishing those written with answers in the near future too. So we will get to every single question. It's maybe not in this session there. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on and talk about what we plan to cover today. So this is what we want to do. So first of all, we want to provide you a background of what we're calling the new eVP. We're going to talk about what this upgrade project all is, all the context behind it, and then the timing of the transition coming up as we hit our go live of July 10th. Then we're going to go over a kind of a basic overview of the backend eVP or the agency app, and that's what you guys are going to be using, and it's essentially your new and improved version of IPS. And we're going to get into a bunch of demos there. You'll see we'll start with creating a solicitation and everything involved with that, what it looks like in public eVP for the vendors, how to review bids that were submitted to you, how to go through and add bid tabulations, how to post award notifications. And then I'm going to pass it over to Zach towards the end, and he's going to go over contract extension notifications, how you're going to search for vendors in the public search, as well as other specifics on solicitations. And then he's going to get into hub reporting because there is some impact on hub reporting in the new system. And we're going to wrap up just overall time for last questions and talk about some next steps. So that is what we intend to cover today. And let's get into it. So let's start with talking about what the new eVP is. So you'll see here, we've got some tiles here that kind of describe it, but at its most basic level, I would say it's a merging of the current version of the IPS NC bid system that you use to host and manage your formal solicitations, along with the electric vendor portal, or what we call eVP. So IPS, that's where state procurement users currently post and manage their solicitations, and eVP is where vendors are going to register their companies to do business with the state of North Carolina as it currently states. So now this merging into one new supersized eVP with two different sides to it, your brand new side called the agency app, and the vendor's upgraded side, the public eVP. There's going to be a lot of aspects of this state vendor relationship that are going to improve. Now, a little bit of technical stuff here. You'll see that the new eVP, it's built on the Microsoft cloud, and IPS has served the state very, very well over many, many years that it has been in place. But a new, more agile cloud just allows the system to do a lot more. It allows both sides to kind of combine into one, and it's really going to impact in a positive way the vendors, administrators like POA, DOA, as well as Hub and NCSBE that are also now involved in the system and have more flexibility with what they do, and purchasers like you. So we think that this upgrade is going to bring a lot of value to everybody involved with state procurement. We've talked a little bit about two sides, and this is a visual representation of what that two sides means. So we've got the public eVP over here on the left, and that's where vendors are going to do their stuff. Now, they already have their version of eVP where they come and they register their company and keep their contacts up to date so that they can get notifications of solicitations and the correct email where purchase orders are going to be sent to them. But now they're also, not only can they manage their accounts, but they can also, in the same place, they're going to be able to respond to solicitations, as well as a better interface for getting their Hub and NCSBE certification. So this really helps them. They don't have to go to one place to manage their account and another place to respond to solicitations. It is all in the same place for them, which is going to be great. And then there's literally a public aspect to the public eVP, this side of things. And that's where you guys are familiar with the public vendor search, and it's still going to happen over in eVP. And now where you are searching for vendors, you can also see how your solicitations have been posted for vendors to see. So all of that is in one spot. On the other side, the state user side, what we're calling the back end, you are going to use what's called the agency app. And you as state procurement users, you are boxed in over here. But DOA and P&C also have admin functions in their side called the admin app. And the Hub office is now involved over here to really improve their certification process in conjunction with the vendors, and they have the Hub app, but they're all kind of together. It's just different permissions in each. And for you, what this new system is going to do is you're going to continue to put your solicitations, tabulations, award posting, all that, just like you did in IPS. You can manage your bid openings there, contract extension. So all of that's the same. And then there is now a Hub statistics and Hub file aspect here, but it is all now tied together for everything. So hopefully the interface works for you, but the connection to the vendors is going to be, I think, a really helpful thing for you there and for everybody. So before we move on into actual demos, let's talk about the timing of this, because this is going to be important to you. So the big date here, July 10th, that's a Monday. That is the go live. So that is when the new system is going to come into play. As you know, it takes a while to create a solicitation and post that. It doesn't just happen overnight. There's sometimes weeks of development of your documents and your targets and getting approval from P&C or whatever you need to do. So right now you may be in a position where you are developing one of these, or you have an opening, or you have some sort of timing that is close around here with an active solicitation. So we just want to make sure that you kind of have an idea of the timing that is going on. So right now, any current solicitation that you need to have closed off and receive bids and review those bids in IPS needs to have an opening date of July 7th. The last day to post a new solicitation in the system is June 30th, so that's 10 days away. So if you are about to post a solicitation and you want it all to be handled in IPS, you'll need to post it by June 30th and have it open by July 7th. Now, if you post something on June 30th, you're probably not giving your vendors a lot of time to respond by July 7th. So if you're posting something here, then it's going to have to open on or after July 17th, because you see there is a no bid openings block out here. And I believe that if you try to post right now, there are already blackout dates that are preventing you from posting here. That is just because we need to manage all the data to get from the old system to the new system. So our suggestion would be that if you are in a position right now where you are currently developing a solicitation and you wanted it to go out around this time, if it is not urgent and you haven't got it all ready to go and to be open by July 7th, that if you can wait until July 10th to post it initially in the new system and have it open in the new system. Now, if there is something that gets posted here, or it's supposed to be opened right now by, say, July 6th, but you have to extend it, then you obviously can't extend it into this week. It'd have to extend over into there. Or if you've got something posted already that is a long-term thing where you're giving your vendors 2 months and it's already going to open up in August, those will be converted over, and our office is taking care of that process. So if it starts in IPS, it will then be converted over here, and we'll be able to manage all of this. But just to make it more simple for you and the vendors, if at all possible, as you come up to post a current solicitation that can't be opened by July 7th, and you have the ability to wait until at least July 10th and post it over there. So that's, kind of a lot of information, and you may have a specific one that falls in this range. And if that is the case, and you have specific questions about your solicitation, get in touch with the eProcurement help desk, and we can help you go through specific situations and see what is going to be the best way. Either way, by the middle of next month, everything will be running smoothly into one thing, but there may be some impacts to current solicitations that are around this timing. So we can discuss that one-on-one with you if you have concerns over the timing of a specific one, but hopefully as basic information, this makes sense to you coming up. The last thing before we shift on to the next phase of our webinar would just be to say that IPS's last day in existence is going to be October 10th. So if you try to look up IPS on October 11th, it will be gone. And the reason for that is if there are some solicitations that were already kind of opened and concluded in IPS now, you have until August 10th to post that award. And then from August 10th to October 10th, that'll give it 2 months for an award notification to be up in the system. So that is what that is. And then August 11th, it will be gone. And going forward, then everything will be in the new eVP system. So I am going to move forward, and we're going to go into an introduction of the backend eVP. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Lauren, who's been monitoring our Q&A, is there anything that we want to address from the Q&A before we move forward?
Yes, so one of the questions that we got, will bids opened before July 7th need to be posted in IPS?
Yes, if something is, so you see here, there after July 7th, there will be no bid openings in IPS. It has to be posted by June 30th and then opened by July 7th. Any bid opening after July 7th is going to be it will be opened in the new system. So if something was posted in IPS, but not opened by July 7th, that will be converted over into the new system, and you will open it in the new system. You see sourcing event down here. That is for other people that use eProcurement sourcing. So that does not apply to you, but eVP is where vendors will then, you will have their bid openings. Any other questions?
I think that's all. I answered one in the chat about the Secretary of State's registration.
Okay. All right. Well, we will move on then. And again, all of the questions, if they pertain to something like this and didn't get answered now, we will respond to everything in a written response later on when we compile everything. So thank you, Lauren. And I'm going to now move on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an introduction. This is what the homepage, this is a PowerPoint slide. And from here on forward, I'm going to move to the web to show you in our training environment what this is going to look like. But this is the homepage of the new eVP agency app for you. And just to say, if you have a current IPS account, you will automatically have that account transferred over to the new eVP, so that on July 10th, when the new system becomes available to everybody, you will then be able to sign into the new agency app, eVP, and that is going to remain a username password situation without MFA. So no email, text message, however that was working for certain state applications. To start off, the agency app is going to remain username password. So I'm going to escape out of here and pull up the web. And before I take you into our agency app in our test environment, I do want to point out here, and hopefully most of you are familiar with this site, but if you are not, just make sure that you are aware of eprocurement.nc.gov. So this is the homepage of eProcurement, and we have been supporting the buyer community for purchase orders and a lot of other things for many, many years. So hopefully you have experience here. But if for some reason on the solicitation side of things, going through IPS, our office didn't do a lot of support on that. That was run by PNC. But now with this new upgrade, the eProcurement office is going to have a much more involved role in supporting your actions for posting solicitations. So we want to make sure that you are aware of this site. So this is the homepage, lots of new things. Want to point out training here. So this is our current training. So you may know buyer training, but there will be right now, we don't have any job aids on our site about IPS use, but when we go live, the new system will have the eVP agency app. There will be job aids, videos, and written documentation on how to do certain things, how to post, how to do award notifications, all that. We will be adding that to our site. So you will have job aids there, and that can be found in our training. So as we get closer to July 10th, those will be updated as well. Just always want to remind you that I'm clicking on the contact link over here, and it shows our help desk. So our help desk will be here. Right now, it just says sourcing and contract. We'll probably say eVP agency app as well in the future. But Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5, we have people on our help desk that answering the phones, answering emails. And if you have questions about how do I do this part of my solicitation, our help desk is going to be supporting you on that too, which is great. We're going to have a lot more visibility into that process, whereas with IPS, we didn't have quite as much and couldn't be as much of a help. So that is great. So that is on the new site. And as we scroll down, you'll see here a link to public vendor search. This is still going to work. We're going to show you that. We'll have other links, probably a link to the eVP agency app. We don't have those yet. So instead of linking off of our eProcurement site, I have a tab open up here. And this is what it looks like when you go to the homepage of the agency app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick tour of what you'll see here, and mostly the tour is going to consist of the navigation panel on the left-hand side, which will show you how to get to various parts of that. And then what we're going to do is actually going in and creating our first solicitation, show you that demo. So I'm on the home page, right? There it is, it's home. And you've got this dashboard. And I will scroll down here and it shows various different things. These are solicitations under evaluation, pending selection. That means that these are solicitations that have they've reached their bid due date and you have not yet awarded them. So there's different groupings of different types of data that you'll find within your organization here. So contract extensions, all that. And at the top, you'll see this graphical representation. The neat thing, and what this kind of demonstrates, is this system will give you visibility not only into your own solicitations and contract extensions and all that, but to anything in your organization. So if there are 3 people at your college or your city or town or county, whoever is using this, that have kind of the ability to create solicitations, you can manage obviously primarily your own, but you can also see and have visibility into theirs. So this gives you sort of cross-organization visibility that I think is really nice. So that's on the home tab. On the recent tab, it doesn't change this up, but what it does is it shows you the things that you've been working on recently, whether it was looking at a vendor or looking at all of the bids or looking at a particular solicitation. So if there's a couple things you've been working on recently, it shows you where those are. So for bouncing back and forth between one or two things that need current attention, I think that is a great thing that you should find. And then within this recent recent part, you can take some of these things, and what you can do is you can pin them. So there's a pin section down here. And if I was working on one thing in particular, this is one that I want to show you later on. I have it pinned, so I don't need to go searching for it. If there's another thing in my recent, and I believe that this is the one that I'm going to show you where vendors have responded. Let's go ahead and pin that one so I can show you that later on. And then now that shows up in your pinned, and you have two that you can go back and forth. Now they look very similar. If you hover over them, you can see the name is different, but I really think that that is going to be very nice for you if there's an active solicitation you're working on to go back and forth. So that's kind of the top part. As we scroll down in dashboards is just, that's what's there. So I'm going to skip that. But the next new thing, and this could be very nice for you, is going to be vendors. So if I click onto vendors, what I have here within this agency app is I have a list of all the vendors that are registered in eVP. So you can do an internal search within your app for vendors. Now, there's also the public vendor search that's still going to exist. So when you get used to this system, it'll be up to you. Do you want to go to the public vendor search and search for them, or do you want to search for them here? That's going to be up for you, but it's the same data. And so if you are looking for a specific vendor, now you have this e-procurement vendor list within your agency app, which I think might be helpful for you. So we're in the training environment, so we've got some weird data here. Not everything is, this would be much more filled out. You're going to have a lot. Obviously, you need contact information there. But if I come up here and I say, hey, I need to search for, I'm going to put an asterisk, and asterisks are always encouraged in this. It really refines the way that the system searches. I need to find vendors that do janitorial work. So I'm going to click in janitor there. And we will see here. Now it gives me everything, and I don't have a list of exactly how many. Oh, I do right down there. 78 vendors have janitor in them. So you can see, hover over. Okay, this makes sense. A janitor in the name. You can find out more information about these vendors. But I come here, AmazeClean, what do they do? I mean, obviously it sounds like they might do something. If you click on a specific vendor, this is what their vendor account information looks like. It's read-only. You can't change this, but you do have. That's where it was looking. It found it in the company website. So the search is pretty powerful. You've got their customer number. You've got all the information here, however they registered. But then you can click on, oh, let's see their contacts, and let's see their location information. So all the stuff that you could see in public vendor search, now you have the ability to search for it here within your backend app, and I think that's going to be helpful for you. So again, once you get used to it, you'll figure out which you want to do better, but could be helpful for you to look at it within the system, which is great. And so now what I want to do is show you just a really brief introduction to the bid management system and solicitations, which is going to be the meat of our demonstration here today. So I click on solicitations, and you'll see that the default is my active solicitation. So these are things that I have created, my user has created, which is great. So I've got a couple in here. I've got a couple in open status, and we'll go over all the statuses. The one that it has today's date on it. I have vendors that have responded to it in the training environment. So this is one we're going to be working on. We'll show you that, but anything you've created will show up here. If you click on my active, which is the default, you can go to active solicitations, and this will show you, this is anything in your organization. So other people that work for your college that have the ability to post solicitations, you'll be able to see theirs too, which I think is just nice visibility overall. So that is my active and active, and then inactive is going to be anything that's canceled. So if for some reason you posted it and then you needed to cancel it, that would show up there. There's also bids, tabulations, awards, contract extensions. We're going to get into those. Those would show those from across everybody's, across your organization, everybody there, but also on a solicitation, as you'll see, there's bids for that solicitation and the tabulations for that solicitation, awards from that solicitation. So we'll show you this a little bit later, but really solicitations, my active solicitations, and then clicking into the one that you're working on, I think that is going to be where you are going to find the most value and where we are going to get into the meat of our demo. So that was a bit of a tour. Before I go in and click this new button to start a new one to show you how to post a new solicitation, are there any questions, Lauren, that we want to address in the presentation?
We just have one. Will this system replace the state hub vendor search?
The state hub vendor search. There is is that for finding vendors that are hub certified, or is that for hub vendors searching for posted solicitations?
I think I would just answer both of those questions.
As far as, I'll be honest, if there was a special hub vendor search for finding hub specific vendors, and I believe Zach is going to show vendor search later, and he will show you how to find hub certified or all the different fields for that. I am not.
Yeah, I think so. The public vendor search today that allows vendors and buyers to search for hub vendors. There will be a version of that that, as Jeff mentioned, will be demoed later today, where you can search for vendors. And then there is a hub page where solicitations can be posted, and hub vendors may go to identify solicitations, and that will automatically happen. So there won't be a double a need to post in two places. So hopefully that answers your question there. And then one other thing I put into the Q&A, but want to highlight here for those that maybe aren't following along in the Q&A, this session is intended for users that are posting that would post a solicitation today using IPS/NC bids. So if you use Ariba sourcing to post your solicitations, you are free to continue attending this event, but the steps that you'll see here are not going to be completely the same as if you are a sourcing user.
All right, thank you. That is good clarification, and yeah, and you should have been invited to those other ones if you're e-procurement, but we are not covering that e-procurement aspect of this now. So let's talk about creating a new one here. So obviously I've logged into the system. I'm on my solicitations page. I'm showing my active solicitation so I can see what I've already created. And then let me show you, and I will show you what it looks like when you click in for more details of these later, because we're going to create one right now. So if I needed to create a new one, post a solicitation, what I would do is I would click on up here. I'm going to click on new. And what happens is you'll see we'll get a new solicitation. It is in a draft status. And when we go back to the home page, I'll explain the other statuses to you. But it's essentially a form to fill out. And some of the fields should be very similar to what you have been filling out in IPS2. So your mindset on, okay, how do I want to title this? That shouldn't really change all that much. It's just a new interface here. So let's go through and start to fill this out. So project title. So what I'm going to do here just for our demo is janitorial services. That's going to be our demo today. We're looking for maybe a 3-year janitorial services contract. So I'm going to say eVP demo. You would know how you want to title this, and you would be much more detailed. You could be more detailed than that, but for today, this is what we're doing. And then now there is a description field, which I don't think existed in IPS, and you could give more context around that. Janitorial services for 3 years for building A. That is something like that. You would know what you want to do, but just a little bit more context than your title. Now, obviously not as much context as your solicitation document, but you can figure out how you want to kind of title it and describe it. Then we have a solicitation number. This is a free text field. So you will put this in. So I'm going to say RFP 454545 there. You will set that however you want to set that. Note one thing, that I did not include a prefix. So each of your organizations has their own kind of IPS, current IPS prefix. Those will carry over, and you don't need to put it here, but once this is published, and I can't demonstrate this because of how I'm set up in our training environment, but if I were to, once you go into the real system and you publish this, or you save this and you have an RFP or IFP or however you want to title this, once you kind of save this, your prefix will automatically kind of link to that. So you don't need to put that in here, but that is something that will happen for you. Opening date, when are bids going to be due for this? So I'm going to click on my drop down. What I'm going to say is I'm going to say 3 weeks right now. So we're on June 20th. I'm going to go forward to July, and that would put me on, say, we're going to bypass that holiday week, go to July 11th. Just so you know, at a minimum, it needs to be 3 days. And there's also built-in logic. So if I tried to put it on July 4th, it would say you can't have it on a holiday. So that's really good. So there are state holidays programmed in here. So if you tried to put it on a state holiday, the system knows and it'll tell you got to switch another day. I think that's pretty helpful. The opening time. So it defaults to 2 p.m. now. That is a very common time across the state. If you want to change it, you can do so in other 30-minute increments, but 2 p.m. was common, so it is defaulted there. Now we have commodity codes, and this is, I think, a place where you may see a nice improvement in the interface here. So there's 3 levels to commodity codes, but there's only one required, and that's the bottom level out to 6 digits. And so you can fill in from the top down. I would suggest just going right down here to the bottom one, click on the magnifying glass. It's going to give you alphabetically the first commodity codes there, but I don't think you want to do that. Just click on advanced lookup. And here you go, and we've got all the commodity codes. So I can put in a number if I know the codes from, and these are the codes that you would be using in eProcurement Buyer. So those 6-digit commodity codes, the UNSPSC codes, or I can put in a search term. So I'm gonna go with janitor. And root words are good, so I don't know if it's janitors, janitorial, whatever it is, but this is what comes back. And for me, this is a service, so I know I'm going to go with my service codes, which start in a 7, 8, or 9, and that's there. So you can use this search, and I think that's better. I think in the past system, you kind of had to, there were like 2 different drop downs, but you had to search by just the category, but it was only in words and not numbers. So you can do words, numbers now. And go all the way down here. Now, for the time being, there, and so I'm going to click this right there, and you see it show up down there, and I would click done to add it. Now, for the time being, and this is something that is being evaluated for the future, you can only add 1 commodity code. We know that there is perhaps it would be helpful if you could add multiple commodity codes. These commodity codes, they're used to notify registered vendors of this business opportunity. So any vendor that said, hey, I do something in janitorial services, they would get a notification once this is posted. So you can't put multiple on right now, but what you can do is if you choose a commodity code that ends in 00, it effectively is going to announce it to more than one set of people. So for example, if I chose, I'm not going to choose this one because this is for goods. This is for if I want to buy janitorial equipment. If I chose 471200, that would cover any of these other ones you see here. So 471215, 18, 19, 16, all of those would be notified if I choose the 00 because that includes all those. So hopefully they're at the time, you can only do 1. But if you choose a 00, it will essentially cover all of the other ones that end in, that have the same 4 starting numbers, but a different ending 2. So hopefully that is something that is helpful for you. So for this one though, cleaning and janitorial services, and now pre-populate or auto-filled all of that. And so on our left side, we're looking good. On the right side, you have a site mandatory conference or site visit. You want to include that in your posting, you can do that now, as well as special instructions. They're not required. So I'm not going to fill those out now, although with janitorial services, I'd probably have a site visit to make sure that they know what they're going to be cleaning. And then the type contract, it defaults to agency, but you have a couple other options. Since this is, I'm looking for, like, say, a 3-year deal, I'm going to go with agency specific term contract. Term means over a period of time. And then post solicitation, 2 options here, eBid or paper. If you want your responses in email, or excuse me, in attachments in the system, I'm going to go with eBid. But if you do want to say paper, and then people will know that they need to look at the solicitation document and return their responses however you ask them to, you select paper, and this still gets posted up there. You just don't get your responses within the system. So now I have everything filled out. There's nothing more down below. So what I'm going to do now, and at any point in here, I can click save or save and close, and that would kind of lock this up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click save, or I'm going to click save right now. And what you'll see here is now it is saved, and I get a couple other options there. So it's still in draft status. And I get this nice tempting green post solicitation. That is great. But I also have upload document. I want to, obviously we want to include a solicitation document with this. So that option is there for me. If I tried to click post solicitation without uploading a document, the system will tell me, nope, you got to put at least 1 document on there, which is great. So let's show you how I would do that. So I'm going to click on upload document. And I'm going to have my completed solicitation document right there, and it's just attaching a document like normal. You get this message that says file successfully attached to note. I'm going to click OK. Where do I find out whether that happened? Well, it looks like I've got a documents tab. So let me click over there. This is just what we'd like for you to do is just double check that your document is there and it's correct. So I go to my documents tab, and there it is. And if I needed to double check that, I can now click on it, download it, and make sure I had the right document. I will say that there are times, and we may see this in an addendum, that it takes a second for the document to attach. And so there are various times where we're going to suggest that you have patience with your document and just make sure it's there. But clicking refresh up at the top will kind of force the system to kind of churn through and make sure that you see that document. Now, I can upload another document. I believe in IPS, you can only upload 1 solicitation document. That was it. And you most of the times, you only need 1 solicitation document. There's no other supporting documents that you need to put out there. But if you did, you technically have that option here now. I will say, though, you can't, as of now, if you attach a document to a solicitation, you cannot delete that document. In the future, we may put in functionality to delete a document. So if you put a document in, you want to make sure that it's the right document. If you attach a document that is really going to be the wrong thing, you may just have to then start, kind of cancel this and start over and make sure you have the right document. So be patient with your documents. The first time I did this, I uploaded my document. I saw it was successful, but I couldn't find it. So I tried it again, and I ended up uploading 2 documents when if I just had a little bit more patience, click refresh, I would have seen that the first document was there. But all that being said, everything is good to go. I have my document it's been attached. If I go back to my general tab, all my information is there until I click post. This is all editable. And so I can go back, but I think I'm ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click post solicitation. You'll see it's in draft status right now. If I click post solicitation, do I want to confirm this? Yes, I confirm that. And what we have here now, it is in open status. And if I go back to my solicitations field, just to show you what that looks like, there it is right here. Here is our, there's our demo right there. You can see your description. It is in open status. It was created today at 10:36. And there it is. There's our RFP, and it is out there and open. Now, real quick, the other statuses that you'll see here. So you'll see draft if you have saved it but not published it. You'll see open if you've posted it and it's still accepting bids. You will see pending selection if you've posted it and all the bids were due, and now you need to determine which was the best bid. And then you'll see awarded, meaning that we did all that. We put our tabulations out there, and we said, okay, this was the vendor that won this bet, or not bet, that won this solicitation. There's also canceled, and that would again be on inactive solicitations, but they don't show up in your active because those are not canceled. which is great. So all of that, that's the one we just created now. It is open. I'm going to show you next how to do addendums, and then we're going to get into dealing with responses. But before I get into actually showing what this looks like in the system, and then showing you addendums, are there anything, Lauren, that we want to discuss right now as far as questions go?
Okay, yes, there are. So are bids for construction and design entered separately from general solicitations?
So from the buyer's side, as far as posting a bid that you want it to be for construction or design, is that entered separately? Is that the question?
Yes.
I do not believe that there is a different posting place. I think there are the commodity codes and there are the construction codes as well, that you can choose not on the solicitations, but no, I do not believe that there is a separate place to post those bids.
Okay, and then another question, is there a way to change or remove the default time? We rarely use 2 p.m. What if we want our responses sent via email and not through eBid or on paper?
So if you open the default time, it will remain 2 p.m. across the state. 2 p.m. is the that's the time that is most common. So that is the default. If you would like to change it, you click the drop down to the right and you can select any time that you want in 30-minute increments. If you want to receive your responses via email, what you would do is you would select paper. So it is indicated as paper, but in your solicitation document, it would be clear that you want them to respond via email and not literally paper. So paper kind of represents anything besides responses in this system. So hopefully that answers the question there.
Yep. Let me see if there are any more. I think that is, there was one, can you replace it? I think that's talking about the documents, solicitation documents. The answer there is unfortunately no.
Not at this time, no.
Yeah.
It's something that may be considered in the future. We understand that sometimes you put the wrong document there. So, but at this time, no. All right, so let's go ahead and see what this looks like from the vendor side. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click back in here and I'm going to take this RFP number and copy it so that I can do a search. So now I'm on the back end. I'm going to go over, this is the public view. And so show you a little bit about how this works. So vendors, they would click here and sign in, and then they could manage their account. And when they are signed in, they have the ability to actually respond to solicitations. But for you, you won't be signing in, but you can search for things. And so you'll see up at the top solicitation. So if I want to search for posted solicitation, if I want to search for vendors, this is your public vendor search. And if I want to see any contract extensions that have been posted, and I believe those stay up for 90 days, that would be there. Browsing solicitations is the same as that, and browsing vendors is the same as that. So I'm going to click solicitations up here, and you'll see as a default, what shows up is the solicitations are listed by opening date. So the earliest one in the system as far as when bids were due. So when the system goes live, that would be sort of middle July. And you can see all of that. But there are filters up here, and this is what we are advising vendors to do. Certainly, if they want to see, okay, what are solicitations that I can place a bid on currently, you'd want to click on open. Now you can also, I want to see all solicitations from Catawba Valley Community College. I could click down here and we could, there it is right there. We could see all of that. So various categories, those are still listed. You can't search by commodity code, but those are still listed there. And then, various filters that you can see. You would be, if you're looking for solicitations of the type that you guys are creating, it would say e-procurement sourcing, no. you can also search for various, what are things that are open, what are awarded. And I think that's actually down the road, that'll be really nice for vendors that you can search for awarded solicitations. We get calls to help desk all the time. They say, I want to see this solicitation. And we say, who won it and what the details were. And they say, when was it posted? It's like, oh, it was back from October. Well, 7 months ago, that is way past the 90 days. That's not on there. Going forward with this system, with the flexibility of the cloud, things are going to stay up for a long time. So something 2 years from now, if you want to see a solicitation posted in August of this year and who it was awarded to and what all the details were, it's still going to be there, which is a really nice thing. In this case, though, I just have open and I click apply, and now I have all of the solicitations that are open that I can still bid on, which is nice. And we're in the training environment, so you've got some weird ones in there. I can also, I can sort by any of these categories. I can also, if I have a search, let's just put in this RFP number, click search, and there we go. So here's the solicitation I just posted, and you'll see it's in an open status. Now, I did this. We gave it a little bit of time since I published it. It was, maybe 5 minutes. I will say that if you post a solicitation and you go immediately to public eVP, there is a chance that you may not see it for up to 15 minutes. This one, we are under 15 minutes, which is great. And most of the time it is under 15 minutes, but there's something called global caching, which means that the public eVP, once it's posted in procurement or in the backend eVP, or any addendum is posted, the public side kind of sweeps through and it just keeps on going and going and going in a circle. Now, depending on when it sweeps through, it could take more time to actually post over here. So it could take up to 15 minutes. In this case, it didn't, but just be aware of that. If for some reason it's been 30 minutes, yours says posted in the back end, it's not in public, that, get in touch with the help desk and we can look at it and see if there's any sort of integration issue. But just be patient. It may not show up right away if you post it and you immediately come over here. But since we did, you can see this is how a vendor is going to see it with the date posted, the opening date, the status, the project and description. So this could help you determine how you want to fill those out on your own. Again, you would have a prefix loaded here when yours gets posted that I can't duplicate now. But if I click on it, takes you inside here and you'll see first at the top, respond to solicitation. I can't respond because it says only vendors registered with the state of North Carolina can respond. They would have to sign in to be able to click this. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can see all the same information. And as you scroll down, there's your attachments so they can look at that. And as we build this out with addendums and bid tabulations and all that, you'll see more information on that. So that is what it looks like over on the other side. And the way that notifications are going to work on this is that around 7 o'clock at night, each night, anything that was posted that day or any addendums that were made, any changes, the system's going to pick up all that information and look at the commodity codes attached to them, and then send out an email nightly to any eVP contact that is registered to receive notifications with those same commodity codes, and they'll get a summary email each night that says these janitorial services solicitations were posted today, and these ones had edits made to them today. So every night, it's not a direct email right away, it's a nightly email that is going to include a summary of all things within their commodity codes that were either posted new or edited new, and so that they can know about that, come to their version of this login and be able to respond if they want to, or at the very least, just download your solicitation document, look at it, and see what is necessary for them. So I'm going to go back to the solicitations page for in the future, but I'm going to go back now to my solicitation, and we're going to talk about adding an addendum. But before we do that, anything that we need to address, Lauren?
Yes, there's one in it, I think was more in the posting solicitations. There was a request to explain again the 5 status reasons and what they each mean.
Got it. Okay, let me go back then. So status reasons. So draft, click here, draft means I'm working on it, but I haven't got to the point to where I have posted it and made it public to the vendor community. So it's all internal when it's draft. I'm not going to save this one, but if I did save it, it would show up as draft, and then I know that I can work on it. Open means that it's posted publicly and it is open for bidding. So you can do an addendum on it, and vendors can submit a bid on it because we have not reached that opening date. So all these opening dates are in the future, July 7th, July 11th, and July 12th. And obviously this system does not have those blackout dates in real life. I couldn't have a bid opening on the 11th or 12th. But that means that it's open. Pending selection means that, okay, we reached the due date. It was June 19th. And that due date has passed, and we are still evaluating the responses, whether we need to get approval from PNC for our award, whether we need to go back and forth and do a BAFO, whether we're still doing that or clarification. We have all the responses, we're looking at them, but we have not yet issued the award. Awarded means that, all right, technically the award is posted publicly. We may be really close to deciding who's going to get it in pending selection, but we haven't dotted our I's and crossed the T's. So it's not awarded. Awarded means that we decided this, we posted it publicly, and everybody knows. Then there's also, I will click here, if I go to inactive, everything's canceled. So anything that we posted out there and we decided, nope, we're not going to see this through. For whatever reason, we need to issue a new solicitation, we've canceled that, and that shows up on inactive. But they are a historical reference, so we put them there. So my active and active will only show draft, open, pending, awarded. So hopefully that explains it a little bit in a little bit more detail. Are we good to move on?
All right. One more question. Sorry, one more question. Will solicitation number be generated by us?
Yes. So solicitation number is generated by you. It's a free text field. I can type in letters. I can type in numbers. That's up to you. So if you have a current format for that, you will do that. The only thing you don't include in that is whatever the prefix is of your organization. Some are numbers, maybe for, I don't know if community colleges, I can't, as far as IPS goes, and it'll carry over into eVP. If you have a number, or if you have a numeric or a letter value, you can do that. But the actual solicitation number, that's up to you. You type that in, whatever you want, letters or numbers. Discard my changes. Okay, so I'm going to go into the one that is open right now, and this is our demo one for today. I'm going to click into it, and of course it looks like this. We've got our documents tab where we showed our solicitation document. Bids is, we don't have any bids yet, but it's getting ready for bids, and you'll see as we go step by step, other tabs are going to pop up on our screen here. So I can't edit any of this right now. This is all locked, which is good because it's open. But if I do need to edit it, come up here and I'm going to click addendum. So let's click addendum. And a very common addendum that you have to do, or that you commonly do, is answering vendor questions. And so I'm going to do an addendum in that format right here. And so let's say answers to vendor questions. You can title this, you can describe it in any way you want. See, cancel solicitation. I'm not going to hit this toggle, but if I did need to cancel this, I'd hit the toggle to yes, and then you just give a reason why you're canceling it and post your update, and it will bring it out of active. I can now, if I needed to change any other fields, I can do that. But right now, answers to vendor questions is all that I want to update there, and so I'm going to click save. Once I do that, now I have the post addendum or upload document. If there was no document to upload, I can go ahead and post it. But in this case, there's going to be a document, right? It's the answers to our questions. So I'm going to click upload document. I've got answers to vendor Q&A. Find that document, right? I've taken the time to do that. It says it's been attached. great. And it's telling you, hey, please refresh the timeline, which is important. So I'm going to click OK. Scroll down. Now in the, you'll see here, attachments, no documents attached. It just said it was good. Let's click refresh. Now when I scroll down, there's my document. So this is a good example of clicking refresh and being patient so you don't attach the same document twice. So we're good to go. I've created my addendum. I've added my document. Let's post this. So I'm gonna click post addendum. Yep, I am good to go. And what happens, you'll see, okay, this is posted and I have now an addenda tab. And on that tab, I have when I created this addenda, what it was, and you'll see there's a number next to it. So my first one was number 1. If I wanted to click into it, I can do that and I can see my document that I attached there. If I go back, I can also see, if I go to the Documents tab, that attachment is listed there. So all the documents are listed in one place, but they're also listed particularly in the addendum that it happened with. So let's say now I want to do another addendum. So I can do as many addendums as I need to. Let's change the timing on this, right? That's another common one. So I would go to addendum, a new addendum, and I'm going to say extending opening date. Whatever you call that, it's always confusing. Open dates, bid, close for bidding, all of that. Right now I'm July 11th. What if I needed to go to, let's go to July 18th. We're just going to give an extra week for whatever reason, keeping my time right there. And so now I'm going to say save. This time, I don't have a document that I'm attaching to it to announce that. I've just said that, hey, we extended it. I don't need another document. If there was a document you want to attach, that's good, but I'm just going to click post addendum now. And now we've seen 2 addendums created, and you can see that it now automatically numbers addendum number 2. So if I had 3, 4, 5, it would automatically number that, and we have that. Clicking on this one, there is no document there. And so that is kind of how all of that is going to work for you. What I want to do now is let's go back on my general, and I'm going to click on, so let me show you this from the outside. There is no indication. This is the one we were working on here. Now my date changed, so it went down to the bottom. There is no indication that there are addendums on this, so you have to click inside to see that, but you probably understand what you are dealing with that one. So I'm going to go back into the solicitation, and I'm going to find this RFP again and see what it looks like here, and we will see what we have. It's still open. The opening date has changed, so the system did pick up on that. If I click into it, let's see here. So addenda, and this is great. So my new attachment showed up, and both of my addenda showed up there. And so this is what vendors will see here, and they could find the attachments. Now, again, I got lucky there. That was all real quick. But it could take up to 15 minutes for that to show up as well, but we're seeing it. So now you're seeing what you're doing and how it impacts the vendors on the back side or on their side. So we have all of that. So I'm going to go back to the real system now, or our solicitation, and I'm going to show you now. We're going to switch over to this one, which has some responses. But before we talk about looking at responses, are there any questions about addenda that we need to address, Lauren?
They're not specifically about addenda, but can you answer this question? Will our current postings in the old system be automatically transferred, or do we need to re-enter them?
No, if it is something that it's posted now and it's supposed to open after July 7th, then it will automatically be transferred over. That's why we need to stop postings and stop bid responses for that period before and a little after July 10th, so we can make sure that the correct data is being migrated over. That will happen. That will be converted for you. So that will happen for you if it is being pulled on over. If it's something that you did your bid openings by July 7th, then you will continue to manage your tabulations and awards in IPS. But if it has not reached the bid opening date by July 7th, that will be brought over into the new system. Moving forward, Lauren?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about submitted bids for a solicitation. So we're going to hop in a time machine. I've got this one right here, June 20th, pending select. Now it won't say this the parenthetical pending selection. I typed that into my title, so I knew how to manage these for all of our demos that we're doing. So that won't show up here. It would obviously show up in the status reason. Before I show you what it looks like to review bids that have been submitted for something pending selection, I do want to show you, I've got this one. I've got some bids on this janitorial services one that's still open, and show you what it looks like so you can see when vendors respond, but it's still open so you can't see their responses. If I click here, and so this one's open until July 12th. And I want to check, did anyone respond? So I go to bids, and look, I have 2 vendors that responded. If I click on the hyperlink, it'll take me to the vendor. If I click on any other, the white space here in this line, it'll take me to their bid. So I'm going to double click there. And it goes to notes, but just go to general. And then you'll see here, vendor bid response received. Some other information as I scroll down, there's nothing you can see, but this is just letting you know that, hey, once it hits pending selection, you've got something to download from them. So I'm going to go back just to show you that interface. But now let's go to back a little further. This is the one where I have some responses we can look at. So I'm going to click on here. You'll see I've got additional tabs. Now now that I have bids in, I have a tabulations tab. But let's go to the bids tab. You can see I've got 3 vendors that responded. And we're just going to look at this test vendor. That's the data that I put in here. So now, same thing, this test vendor 100, if I want to look at this, I'm going to double click here and I can see the bid, and it says the opening date succeeded, and actually by go live, that part will not be there anymore. But if you scroll down, you've got this. Here is this is what it looks like. So it tells the timing of it, and then they can, besides this web, if they wanted to put in a comment or something, they could do that. But the main thing is the vendor response. Here's this document. So I can download that and review that. So for every bid that I received, if I want to see their attachments, and they can attach multiple attachments, that's up to them. Multiple comments, that's up to them. I can download this and see what we have here, which is really nice. There is also, so that is, if I were to click, I'm not going to download that. That's a dummy document, nothing important on it. But if I want to, if there were, say, 10 of these and they each included 2 or 3 documents, it's a lot of things to download. The nice thing about it, you see this download zip up top here? If I click on this, it says, hey, it's downloading this zip file. Now make sure when you do this, you have your pop-up blockers disabled. First time I did this, I had a pop-up blocker on, and it stopped me from opening it. I was like, why isn't this working? But pop-up blockers off, and look at this. I have a zip file for this solicitation. If I click open file, what you're going to see is, let me pull this over into my main screen here. I've got this file, and it has all the vendor responses. Now, my responses are the same. It's not going to break them up into this vendor did this vendor did this. You're going to have to kind of count on, hopefully, vendors. And maybe this is in your instructions in your solicitation document. Please title your documents such and such a way, include your vendor name to make it easier on you. But if there were 30 documents that had been attached on all those bids, I download it once and I get everything at once, which I think might be helpful for you there. So I'm going to close out of that, but just that's I believe, new functionality that did not exist in IPS. And overall, in general, the file size limit that vendors can respond is now 125 megs. That is huge. That's bigger than what the e-procurement sourcing users are able to attach. So it is our understanding that IPS kind of had some limits and frustrating sometimes, maybe some big architectural packets that were huge. Now 125 should be really good, and they can attach as many as they want. So I think that there's some nice uploaded functionality for you there. So that is looking at the bid. So I'm on a solicitation. I go to the bids tab. I see all the bids there. Click anywhere besides the vendor's name. I can see it, download the file, or I can go up here and download all the files together. Now, you'll see there's also a bids tab on the left-hand side, and this is for all of the active bids across your organization. So if you want to go ahead and kind of look at them in this way and see things that were from other solicitations, you can do that. For me, it makes sense to go to my solicitation and find the bids attached to that, but you have a listing of that there if that ends up working out for you. So I'm going to move on to creating bid tabulations off of this information now, but was there anything in particular, questions about bids that we wanted to answer, or let's move on into bid tabulations?
No questions.
All right, let's move on into bid tabulation. So click back into my pending selection one because we haven't done that. And I had my bids, downloaded them. However I'm reviewing these, we're going to review these. I'm going to go to the tabulations tab now. And you can see here, plus new tabulation. That's what I'm going to click. So first thing you're required to do is put in a preliminary bid tabulation, which has it just lists the vendors that bid, and I'm going to show you the easy way to do that. So you'll see tabulation posting. It says post vendor totals only. This is actually a drop down. It's a long one. If I click over here, I do have an option to post all bid items, and that would be, I'm not going to show you that option. I'm going to leave it on post vendor totals only. Our job aids will describe how to go do the post all items, but what that would be, post all bid items would be, hey, I received 3 line items and I want to be detailed and say, for line item 1, vendor A bid X. For line item 2, vendor A bid Y. And for line item 3, vendor A bid Z. And vendor B bid, go line item by line item by line item. If that's something you need to do, the options there. Or you can do vendor totals only and say vendor A bid X, vendor B bid Y, vendor C bid Z. And that's what we're going to show you. So leave it on the default, new tabulation. And really what you're going to be doing here is you've got a lot of fields, some auto populate. You can't that refer to this. If this is an NC bidder that I need to indicate, if there is a requesting for price match, I need to indicate I can do that. But really what you're going to do is let's look for a vendor. So I'm going to click search here and go to advanced lookup, and I'm going to try to see test vendor. Let it work. And so this is just in our thing. So we had test vendor 100 and test vendor 102. So let's click on test vendor 100 and click done. And I don't need, for the preliminary bid, there's no price that I just need to say who responded. So I'm just going to leave price blank, and I'm going to say save and close. And you will see here, I've got my first tabulation for no price for test vendor there. Now, let's do another one, test vendor 102. I'm going to go here and let's look for that test vendor again and we'll say test vendor 102, add them, click save and close. And then now I have, if there are 10 vendors, I would do this 10 times, but I'm just going to go with 2 here. Not time to put their final pricing, but that's there. And so now I click post tab. I'm ready to go. If this is good, I click post tabulation, click OK. And now I'm not going to go over to the public side quite yet. I'm going to do that in a bit. But this now, within the next 15 minutes, on my solicitation, as I scroll down underneath my addendum, it's going to list the tabulations, and it would say that X, these 2 vendors responded, but no cost. That's all you need to do for the preliminary. Now, let's say we've gone even further and we're ready for the final bid tabulation with costs. I'm not going to create a new one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the existing one we have, and it's just going to edit that up. So I'm going to go to edit. You click next to the one you want to do. So vendor 102, we're going to say is clicking on. I'm going to click on edit here. And let me see here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I will go to total price. We're going to say they bid $75,000. So this is vendor 102 bid 75,000. Save and close. And that was right there. Now vendor 100, click next to it. I get edit. And we are going to say 70,000. Oops, yep, 70,000 right there. I'm going to click save and close. And now I have that. I don't need to repost this. It will automatically get updated in the next 15 minutes. I believe that when you saw the bids tab, there were 3 vendors that had bid on there. Normally, I would have put obviously 3 bid tabulations because 3 bids. I'll be honest, someone corrupted my data and snuck in a bid there that I wasn't ready for. So that's why I guess if I wanted to create a bid, I would have, I should have in the demo, I should have been flexible and figured out what that vendor's name was and added them to the bid title. I didn't mean to exclude anyone here. I had some data set up and someone snuck in and put something there. So, but yes, if anytime, if you got 3 bids, you wouldn't just put in 2 tabulations. So I should have put in 3 tabulations there. So that is what we want to do. I posted this tabulation, and now actually before I go into the back side or the public side to show you how that works, I'm now going to go in and just show you how awarding works. So we're going to do this all at once. We'll show you what it looks like in public, and then we'll come back and take questions on tabulations and awards because they kind of work hand in hand. Because now you see, once I've posted my tabulation, I can go to awards. I have an awards tab, and now we have our awards that are all together here. So as you're probably getting used to, I will click on plus new award. And what we have here, the first thing you're really going to do is you're going to look for your vendors. So now the neat thing is, because I put 2 tabulations in there, the only vendors that show up are the 2 vendors that I got tabulations from. You're obviously not going to award something to someone that didn't have a tabulation. I believe test vendor 100 came in $5,000 less than 102. So we're going to say we awarded it to them. Now, the rest of this is locked. If I needed to put in the county, if I need to put in the city, if I wanted to put in the purchasing agent, that's all optional, but I do have to put in the award amount and date awarded. So my award amount, we're going to say that was $70,000, and the date awarded is going to be today. And I could put in comments if I need to. There's also, if there was a situation where there was a reciprocal preference or a price match, I could indicate that. Some additional fields pop up, but that is we're going to say that we don't have that situation right now. So I'm going to click save and close. And you'll see now I have this has been awarded. My status is still pending selection. I thought I awarded it. That's because I haven't clicked post award. So until I do that, this is editable. But when I click on post award and click OK, the status now goes to awarded, which is great. I'm going to show you what that looks like on the other side, but hopefully you're getting a sense in these new tabs show up, you click new, you click post, and you get another tab. New, manage it, post, you get another tab. So now I'm awarded. If I go to my solicitations, this one right here was pending. Now it's awarded. And let's go ahead and let me find the correct one there. This is the one. Let me just double check and get my RFP number. So when I go over here, now I'm coming back and I'm gonna go to the solicitations. Now what I can do is on my filter, let's check for all the awarded ones. Now, if I'm searching and I know the RFP number, I don't need to filter out by awarded, but just show you, because I think this is something vendors are gonna like, that if you apply these filters now, it's showing all the awarded ones, and they can do this 2 years down the road, which is really nice. I'm going to search for the one that we just did, and we will see here, we got lucky that 15 minutes we're there. It is awarded status. It tells the date. I'm going to click into it, and let's see the details here. So this one had the attachments. It had the addenda. For this one, I didn't do a time extending. This was the one I kind of created in advance. My tabulation show up. If I looked at this before I added my price, it would have the price would just be blank, which is perfect. And then you come back and you edit it for your final. And then here's the award. And I awarded this to Test Vendor 100. It makes sense. They were $5,000 less. And if I click on this, I can view the details. And we have what happened here. If I had put in any of this other information, it would show up, but it just basically shows that information there. And now we have gone from start to finish. We have gone from creating addendums, reviewing responses, posting tabulations, both preliminary and final, and then posting awards. And you've seen both sides of things, how it has started on your back end and then ended up in the public view over here for the vendor. So what we're going to do next is show you contract extensions. If I was going to search for contract extensions, this is how they show up here. But Zach's going to show you how to create those. But before we transition over to Zach, do we want to answer any questions, Lauren?
Yes. Someone said, what about waiver of competition, which was covered a few steps back, but can you elaborate on waiver of competition?
So waiver of competition, obviously those don't get posted publicly. Those are, you get permission from PNC to go to a sole source vendor. However, you are working on your permissions for PNC for both posting publicly, you get approval to post this, or to do a waiver of competition, you're still PNC or DIT, you are still going to use those. The approval processes aren't going to change. When they tell you that you can do a waiver of competition that you don't post publicly, you will still, however you have done those in the past, whether they be just emailing people, that process is going to remain the same for you. It just doesn't interact with the public posting.
Okay, and then I have, can you copy a solicitation from the past and post?
That is an interesting question. I do not think that there is a copy function, but that might be a good thing to jot down for future enhancements. If that is the case, I do not believe. Let me click on a new one. I do not believe that that's the case now, but we can get confirmation on that, and also a nice enhancement request.
Yeah, we will. Don't believe that functionality is available, but we'll confirm and provide in our questions and answers response that we send out after the session. And then the last question is, can line item pricing be included in the tabulation or only the total price?
No, line item tabulation can definitely, I did not show that. We've got job aids that go into that. It's a little bit more of a detailed process where you set up your line items and then you set up what each vendor responded to those, but you can definitely do that. That is in the drop down. It's not the default, but if you hit the drop down where it says vendor totals only, you'll have all bid items and you would click on that. And then there's a kind of a two-step process for each vendor to do that. But you can certainly, if that is the way you'd like to post your tabulations, it is there.
Great, thanks.
All right, so Zach, if you want to take over the screen here, and kick us off into posting contract extensions, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. So hello, everybody. As Jeff said, my name is Zach, and our next demo that we're going to be going through with everybody is creating a contract extension. So contract extensions can now be created in the backend eVP. To start that process, we would sign in the backend eVP. And then I'm currently on our homepage, and all we need to do is simply on our left-hand side, scroll down until we see contract extensions, click on contract extensions, and then click this new button up top here. So now we have a new contract extension record. I'm just going to talk through some of these fields as we kind of fill it out. So the first two fields up here are the solicitation number and the external solicitation ID number fields. So this solicitation number field will actually link to solicitations created in backend eVP. So obviously, as we get started utilizing backend eVP, you guys might not use this feature immediately because most likely the contracts that you'll be extending out were ones that you used some, you used IPS for. So to get started, I'll just demo one of those. So I'm going to say my external ID number was 134567. And now I'm going to start filling out some of these other details, such as original contract amount. So for this one, I'm going to say the original contract was for $75,000. Description, this was a janitorial services contract. So janitorial services. The original start date was July 1st, 2020. So you can either use that date picker, or if it's easier, you can just type in the actual date. Original end date, I'm going to say is July 1st, later this year, so 2023. And then I'm saying we're extending this contract out by 1 year. So for extension end date, I'm going to say that's also July 1st, but 2024. Now it's going to ask us for an explanation. So I'm going to say we are extending the contract for 1 more year. And now we'll start going down our required fields in this second column. So for extension amount, we're going to say it's for $25,000. And then since this is our first extension on this specific contract, we're going to say extension number is 1. In this example, I'm saying I'm the contract manager, so I'm going to go ahead and type my name in. And then for contract manager email for this example, I'm actually going to enter in the email for our vendor help desk. So now that we've entered in all of our required fields, we can come up here to this top menu and click this Save button. And then after clicking Save, you'll notice there's a post-contract EXT button. We don't actually want to click that just yet, because we also have this awarded vendor section down below the information that we entered in, and we want to add an awarded vendor. So to do so, I'm going to click this Add Existing Vendor option. And then the vendor I want to add is actually in my recent records, but if they weren't, you could start searching for a vendor by using this top search bar. And then once you find said vendor, you can click on them. They'll show up kind of up here above your search bar. And then you can hit this blue add button. And then you'll notice that your vendor is listed in the awarded vendor section. So if this contract was to multiple vendors and it's being extended out to multiple vendors, you could keep clicking this add existing vendor button to keep adding vendors. And then if you added an extra vendor and that it wasn't actually awarded out to you, could actually click the little radio button next to said vendor and then click the remove option to remove them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say in this instance, this contract extensions has 1 awarded vendor, and I have the correct vendor in the awarded vendors section. So now I've kind of finished entering in all the information that I need for this contract extension. So I'm going to click this post contract extension button up top here. And once I do that, we'll get a little pop-up box that's asking us, hey, do you actually want to post this? Because once you do so, hey, this contract extension will post over to the portal side and will be visible to vendors. I do want that to happen, so I'm going to click this OK button. And then as Jeff started talking about, I'm actually going to come over here to the public portal. And you can search for contract extensions by clicking this contract extensions button up top here. I'm going to grab my external solicitation ID. And then I'm going to paste it into this search bar right here and then hit this magnifying glass. So just like with solicitations, there is a 15-minute global caching situation. We, however, did get lucky again with this one. So it may take up to 15 minutes for the contract extension to post from the back end eVP to the public portal. In this case, we got lucky. So we can see the details of the contract extension. And then if we click this little down arrow and click awarded vendors, we can actually see a little bit more. We can see the awarded vendor, our explanation, and the details of the contract manager. So that was extending or contract extensions. Lauren, did we have any questions about that demo?
Doesn't look like there are currently any questions around contract extensions. No.
Perfect. Okay, so to round out your guys, like our kind of tour of the public facing side, because Jeff went over solicitation searches with you. With contract extensions, there's a search bar and this little search button, so not a whole lot to it. I'm also going to show you guys how to search for vendors using the public vendor search. So again, I clicked on vendors from this top menu. Once I do so, we get these 6 filters on our vendor search page. This first filter is kind of more of a general filter. It searches against multiple different filters. Then we have vendor name, customer number, and then we have some status filters here. But we do have a lot more filters that we can access. We just need to click this little blue arrow button that's next to advanced search. And then you'll notice that we get some more specific searches. We get, specifically NCE procurement, registration status, registration date to and from, hub and NCSPE certification, like do we want to search for a specific certification category, contractor services, do we want to search for vendors who, say they have a specific, electrical license specialty, contact location searches, and then we have our commodity code search, which I think this is the most improved search from our current public vendor search. In our current public vendor search, you'd actually have to expand each of the individual categories to see the codes listed under it. But in our current commodity code search, we can hit this Add Commodity Codes button. Then we actually have a little search bar that we can use up top here to search. So if I'm looking for commodity codes relating to janitor stuff, I can type janitor in here, hit this search button, and then you'll notice all these codes pop up. But I can actually make this search work even better for me because I can actually sort by each category. So for example, if I want to sort by codes and I want the highest code down to the lowest code because I'm looking specifically for service codes and they start usually with a 7, 8, or 9, then I can sort by highest to lowest, in which case we'll notice that I find the code that is for janitorial services right there. Once I click on it, I can click add, and that code will be visible in this section below. So let me go ahead and add a couple of extra filters. So I'm going to say I'm looking for I want to send a purchase order out to this vendor. So I'm going to say I want this vendor to be registered for NCE procurement, and then I also want this vendor to be hub certified. So I'm really using 3 different filters here. I want a hub certified active e-procurement vendor that has cleaning and janitorial services commodity code. So now I'm going to hit this blue search button. And then depending on how many search results there are and how big of a search you've done, it may take a couple of seconds, but once it does populate, your search screen will look similar to this. We are in the testing realm right now, so there is a bunch of testing data. So that's why I may not look exactly how we can expect you to look. Like we would expect that since I searched for e-procurement vendors that main contact information would be filled out here, but that's just because we're in the testing realm. It'll also show us the total amount of records up here in the upper left-hand corner that returned from our search criteria. And then we also have an export to Excel button up here. So if we wanted to export this list of vendors into an Excel sheet, it's very simple. We just click this button and then your browser will download an Excel file for this vendor or for this list of vendors. To view additional information about a specific vendor, you can actually click on their vendor name. And then it'll pull up with the specific tabs over here on the left-hand side that you can actually view various details about said vendor account. Like if, for example, you wanted to see what other commodity codes they'd registered under, you could come in here and click on this commodity codes tab, and then you would see the various other commodity codes that they have selected. And again, this is all without signing into eVP, so this is available publicly. Lauren, did we have any questions about public vendor search?
We have some questions that came in about extensions. So how do you edit a published contract extension?
So if I come back here, so actually let me go all the way out and back to my home screen just to make it a little bit more easy to kind of follow along. So first thing would be to find my contract. So I click again on contract extensions. And then if I see my contract extension immediately in the list, I could just double click on it there. If not, we can use this little search bar in the upper right hand corner to find it. Then I can double click on it and pull it up. And we'll use this one as an example. And let's say, hey, you know what, we accidentally typed in the wrong amount in the extension amount, and it's really supposed to be, you know, $30,000. So then we could click into the field and update it. And then we would hit save. And then this should post over into public facing eVP. However, it might be impacted by the global caching situation. So you might have to wait 15 minutes for you to see, oh, actually, we got lucky a third time. If you'll notice that our extension amount has actually already updated on the public facing side.
Okay, and then one last question. What if the vendor chooses not to extend? Would they refuse the extension in the tool?
So that would be handled usually outside of eVP, I believe. Like they won't, like if you extend them in the tool, they won't get a prompt asking them to like accept said extension.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Perfect. So we'll actually go ahead and move on to our last demo for this webinar, and that's entering in a hub statistics report. So kind of similar to getting to our contract extension section of the back end of eVP. On our left-hand side, we'll see this hub statistics option. If we click on it, we'll see all of our hub statistics reports. Again, we're in a testing environment right now. That's why you'll notice that there are multiple fiscal year 2023 quarters, you know, fourth quarters. Normally, you'd only have, you know, one per quarter per fiscal year, or like one for each quarter of the fiscal year. You won't have 3 fourth quarter 2023 fiscal year reports. So this report should auto-generate for you guys starting on the first business day of the quarter. And if you double click in the report, the first couple things are going to be auto-populated for you. That's the fiscal year and the quarter. And then after that, you'll actually have to go through and populate these fields. So these fields are essentially asking you to kind of break out the amount of spend that you guys had for term contract purchases. So this is the total for term contract purchases, including both hub and non-hub. So let's say, you know, hey, it's 2,500. You know, maybe this was a lower month or a lower quarter for this one. And then it's going to ask you to actually break them down per individual category. So let's say we had, you know, 200 Hispanic, and then we had 500 female. And then the cool thing about this is any of these fields that have these little lock symbols next to them are fields that you can actually edit. And most of them are going to actually populate based on the data that you put into the editable fields. And they'll update once you hit this save button. So once I hit save, we'll notice that our total hub purchases updates based off of what we put in these categories. And then these percentages also update based off the categories as well. So let's say that's, you know, hey, that describes our term contract purchases for this quarter. So if we continue scrolling down, we'll now have a commodity purchases section. So again, it's going to ask us just for the total hub and non-hub. So let's say that commodities we did 5,000. And this time we'll say we did 500 in the black category, and then did 250 in the Asian American, and then 1,000 in disabled owned. And again, if I hit this save button, these sections over here should update, as well as this field right here, which you'll notice that they do. And then I'm going to continue scrolling down. And then we have our last section here, which is our service purchases. So again, it starts off by asking you for total service purchases for the quarter for both hub and non-hub vendors. So I'm going to say we did 6,000. And then it's going to ask you to kind of break down any specific service purchases that were made with these various categories. So we'll say, hey, you know what, we had 500 that qualify for American Indian, 500 for Hispanic, and 1,000 for disabled owned. And then if I hit this save button, Again, these locked fields will update based on the values that we put in on this left-hand side column. And if we scroll up, these 3 values kind of over here at the top will also update based off the values entered in lower down. And once you are ready to actually submit your hub report, you would come up here and you'd click this approve button. And you'll notice currently that our hub record has a pending status. And once I hit this approve button, it moves into a submitted status reason, and that the approved by and approved on date and time are all filled out to match the user who clicked the approve button. And the hub office should now be able to review this hub record. Lauren, did we have any more questions come into the Q&A?
I think because we are currently 5 minutes over, we do have a few questions. We're trying to answer as many as we can here, but we will compile a complete list of the questions with responses to them and share them out to the folks that attended today. So if you have a question that wasn't addressed either during the presentation or in the chat, we will address it and send those responses back out.
All right. So thank you very much, Zach. Thank you very much, Lauren. And thank you to everybody that answered questions. Again, we don't have time to address all of them today, but we will get to them. So the next steps here, July 10th is when it's going to go live. There will be some communication to you as we reach that day that's going to give you some details on signing in and the URL and all of that. If you have questions in the meantime on a specific solicitation that's maybe crossing over that go live date, get in touch with our help desk. And if we can leave you as we wrap up here with a couple takeaways here, just want to let you know, so much now is in the same place that you can manage a lot of things, which we think is great. There is great visibility now across your entire organization. And the biggest thing is we're going to be here to help. Our help desk and our training and all of that, we will be here leading up to July 10th, in the week after July 10th, in the month after July 10th. We will be here to help. So we know that there is a lot of new information for you. I'm sure you're excited to get into the system and kind of start to attack that learning curve, get used to things. And by the middle of next month, everything is going to be on in the new system and moving forward. And we certainly appreciate everything you do for the state. Appreciate your time today, your questions. We will be following up with answers and the recording in short time. And we hope that everybody has a good rest of their day and good rest of the week. And thank you all very much. Bye-bye.